Hello, this is Wright. I am at home in Honolulu, Hawaii, looking over the great Pacific Ocean here. This is my residence, and I'm home after 3 weeks being in China and South Korea on an international project, and also the G20 in Hamburg. And I'm not at the Democracy Conference because while I was gone, a terrible thing happened in my condominium complex. A horrible fire took place. 3 people were killed, 20 injured, 20 apartments totally destroyed, 80 apartments severely damaged, over 200 damaged. Next door to me, Marilyn, my neighbor for 14 years, 78 years old, with a terrible breathing problem and an inability to walk downstairs. And she stayed in her apartment while this fire raged for 4 hours until the firemen could get through the smoke and everything up the back stairs to take her down. So I wanted to come back to see Marilyn, see how she's doing, and unfortunately she's not doing too well. So keep her in your prayers. But I'm here because I've got lots of cleanup to do, nothing like what all of these other people have, but I needed to come home, as we all need to come home. And life does happen as we do all of these actions for social justice around the world. So that's why I'm here in Honolulu instead of with you in Minneapolis. But what I'd like to talk about today in what's called the gathering place, which is Oahu, the gathering place for people with concerning social justice issues and peace issues. And what I'm going to do is to go through a presentation that I've done. I'm going to do it here on the computer and on YouTube, and I'm holding the camera myself and doing all of my work by myself. So bear with me because this may be a little disjointed, but the heart's in the right place. So here we are, building alliances across borders. And what I want to talk about are all the issues that we work on as citizens of the United States, but indeed most of them are international issues. And building bridges and alliances with people all over the world is very important because we all share the same concerns, whether it's stopping wars or ending foreign military bases on other people's land, whether it's trying to stop assassin drones that are killing people all over the world, Palestinian solidarity, the climate. And these are just a few of the things that you all are working on every single day. And there are people all around the world that also are working on them and trying to be in touch with them, be in liaison with them, in solidarity with them, is very important. And that seems to be the life that I've kind of taken in the last year or two, that after I resigned from the government in 2003 in opposition to the war in Iraq, and then worked on many programs here in the U.S. on Stop the Wars, on the issue of torture, Guantanamo, NSA spying. Well, you all know all the things that you've been working on. After my time in the government, now I've joined with you. But it seems like in the last couple of years, I've started doing a lot of international traveling. I'm very honored to be asked to come and speak at many events, and I wanted to just kind of give you a rundown on some of those events. This video will be in 2 parts, about 15 minutes here, and then I'm going to take a break holding the camera and get my thoughts together for the last part of it. But what I wanted to start on this part is where are the alliances needed? I would say probably everywhere, wouldn't you? We need alliances with everyone. Even though our government doesn't seem to think we need too many alliances, we certainly know as peace activists and social justice activists that alliances with other like-minded people are very important to the work that we do. Some of the things that we have alliances with on the international scene are conferences, or as I've said here, counter conferences. Like wherever our governments go and meet together, usually there's a counter conference to that to challenge what these governments are planning for us, much of which we don't really want. So having counter conferences, rallies, protests on the international level for these types of international meetings is very important. Some of the ones that you'll remember are the No to NATO, which happened in June of this year, the G20, which was just in early July of this year. Both of those, well, one of them in Brussels, the No to NATO in Brussels, and then the G20 in Hamburg, Germany. I was honored to speak at both of those. And that's one of the things, if you want to go to these conferences, there are ways to do it. They like to have Americans there to get firsthand information about what we're doing, how we're trying to put pressure on our country, our government. So check the websites of these groups, and if you want to go, let your friends know, let your organizations know. It's amazing how much solidarity there is to help people get to where they would like to go. So if you want to go to the No to NATO, which again will be in Brussels in the early spring, let people know that you want to go. And then put in a proposal for the counter conference of something that you're working on here in the U.S. Same for the G20 the next time it meets. And of course, you know, the climate negotiations the last time, which were in Paris. And then in Washington, D.C., frequently is the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. And in New York at the UN, we've just finished the Ban Nuclear Weapons 1 month of a very successful conference where indeed the General Assembly of the UN voted to ban nuclear weapons. Of course, the nuclear states, including the United States, boycotted. Shock. Well, it's up to us now to keep going with what we know is right. Now, I'm just going to show you a couple of pictures from some of these international counter conferences. Here's No to NATO, and here's a group of women that have No to NATO on all of their shirts. And then at the G20 in Hamburg was a really remarkable manifestation. They say 1,000 people put all of this gray matter on them and walked through the streets of Hamburg as zombies. The zombies of what was happening to us under these draconian policies that the governments are cooking up. It was one of the most remarkable protests I think I've ever seen. And then at the end of it, I mean, it brought people to a stop as they were looking at what was going down the street. At the end of the walk, then people took off those clothes and had, of course, under them some other clothes, but here we are now free of G20 policies, and people rejoicing that perhaps we can somehow influence these draconian policies that are hurting people all over the world that come from the G20. Now, if we look at some of the specific issues that we're working on, anti-war, well, how long have we been working on that? Forever. Forever. And some of the organizations that work on an international level, the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, the War Resisters International, the International Peace Bureau, in the UK, UK Stop the War. Here in the US, the United for Peace and Justice, which during the Iraq War was a coalition of 800 organizations. Now United National Anti-War Coalition, or UNAC, and ANSWER, and then World Beyond War. I mean, these are just a few of the coalitions that we've had on the issue of trying to stop wars. That being one of the campaigns that is really around the world trying to stop wars. Another campaign that's worldwide is Palestinian Solidarity Campaign. And here we have a few of the specific organizations that have been working on an international basis with people coming in from all over the world in solidarity with their campaigns. One of them, the International Solidarity Movement, which I'll show you a picture and explain it in a moment, the Gaza Freedom March, which took 1,300 participants from 55 countries to Egypt and hoping to go into Gaza in December of 2009 in solidarity with the people of Gaza after the 2009 27-day attack on Gaza by the Israeli military. Unfortunately, only 100 people were able to go into Gaza, but the rest of them that stayed in Cairo were having protests all throughout the city, something that Egyptian citizens couldn't do. So in one way, we kind of like to think that maybe it was a precursor to the Arab Spring. And then Free Gaza movement took 5 boats to Gaza in 2008, and then worked on with the big flotilla in 2010. The Gaza Freedom Flotilla Coalition working also from 2010 currently through 2017, and each of these groups, the Free Gaza Movement and the Gaza Freedom Flotilla Coalition, have had national campaigns that raise money to buy boats to send on these missions to break the Israeli naval blockade of Gaza. And some of the national campaigns are Australia, Canada, France, Greece, Ireland, Italy, Malaysia, Norway, Sweden, South Africa, Spain, and the U.S. We have had ships that have attempted to go into Gaza in 2008, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2015, 2016, and our next group going in will be in 2018, next summer. And we appreciate all the help you can give us. Now, what do these campaigns do on the international basis of getting people from all over the world to come participate with them? Well, here's a picture of International Solidarity Movement. And these people put their bodies as international people in the way of the Israeli military to try to block the Israeli military's movement toward Palestinians. The Israeli military beats up, incarcerates, and kills Palestinians with impunity. And on the left, you see a young woman that's stopping a bulldozer that's trying to block or tear down houses. And you remember Rachel Corrie back in 2003. The Israeli bulldozer driver ran over her and killed her. And then on the second picture is a group of ISM, or International Solidarity folks, who are out near the borderline in Gaza toward Israel, where Gaza agricultural workers still try to farm, even though Israel says it's a no-go zone. They have made part of Gaza a no-go zone, which takes away almost 1/10 of the property of farmers in Gaza. So the farmers still do try to farm this area, because the land is limited in this little place called Gaza, 25 miles long, 5 miles wide, and one of the most densely populated places in the world, with now over 1.7 million people living in that tiny little place. So the International Solidarity Movement, both in Gaza, although they haven't been in there for a year or two, but certainly in the West Bank, where they try to protect kids that are going to school, and farmers that are trying to do agricultural work and olive groves. So these people come from all over the world, and first do training with the International Solidarity Movement, and then go out to protect Palestinians. And here we have some of the boats that have attempted to break the Israeli blockade of Gaza. This is the Dignity, which actually did get into Gaza in 2008, and then in early 2009, on another trip, it was rammed by the Israeli military and almost sunk. The Gaza Freedom March in 2009, taking 1,300 people into Gaza, attempting to, and here it is, please let us go to Gaza, please. This was when the Egyptian government refused to let us go to the border, the Rafah border, to try to get into Gaza. So we had a big demonstration in Egypt. And this was people from 55 countries that had come for this, a great international movement here. And then in 2010, you probably remember